All right, ready to go? So this is castle game number 4. Some of you probably saw the previous 3 castle games, and they were all right, but essentially Shusaku just won easily in all of them, right? So they didn't get to be particularly interesting games. This game is completely different. This is actually the first time in a long while where we're going to see Shusaku actually struggle quite a bit. Um, yeah, so I guess let's just take a look at the game. Komoku, white plays 5-4. Oh, I almost I almost broke the tree. Okay. Komoku again and Komoku. So that's kind of interesting, right? White is playing an empty corner. That's more of a modern sort of way of going about it, right? He didn't approach a black corner. Okay, so black encloses corner. Nice easy way of playing and makes the 3 stones work well together. And now white does the approach. Actually, let's see, who was the... So the commentary was adapted from commentaries by Kitani Minoru and Ishida Yoshio, oh, and also Segoe Kensaku. So um, they pointed out that more modern would be to approach high, right? Just sort of a more modern style. But we get into this, we get the 3-space low pincer, which works quite well with the Shimari. And now white plays a really funny looking, interesting move. He plays here. And they pointed out that this is one of his favorite moves, Ito Showa, but obviously it's not particularly usual, right? So the question becomes, are we going to help the A stone? Are we going to help the B stone? Shusaku decides to just help the B stone first. Normally you would answer cap with the knight's move, right? And this move is good locally. And actually this would be just fine in the game as well. But they pointed out that white will probably get a nice pincer in and then try to settle like this. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this at all for black. But he plays here first, which kind of prevents white from doing the pincer. And white plays here immediately, right? This is probably the best way to try and settle these 3 stones. And now, like in my opinion, black kind of gets into trouble right away here because he plays this press, right? Which we know was almost like just a habit that they played back then. They played this move so much, just trusting that it was a good move, but it doesn't seem so great here. And the pro commentators agreed that this doesn't seem so good. So Ito Showa, he just extended here, which provides some help to the A stone, and now the B stone is really damaged, right? So also I'm not really sure what the C stone is doing. So already it feels like something's a little wrong for black. And in this game, white actually gets a really nice opening and gets ahead. So black just ignores that for now and plays the approach. So they pointed out that, first of all, black would have been better off just doing this in the first place, if that's the case. The other thing is that I would say this is single stone against single stone, right? So no tanuki. So this to me seems to be just the obvious move, right? Without thinking. And white might try to cross cut and get some sabaki to do a shape here, etc. But this exchange doesn't seem so good. And then he approaches. White also does 3 space low pincer, and we get into Taisha here. We've seen Taisha so many times now that I'm sure you're all playing it every game now, right? You wish. Oh man, John, you're one of my favorite students, but I can't cater to you just for the fact that you never come to my lectures. Simple Joseki. Yeah. Actually, I guess I will say quickly. Taisha is this shape, where black is trying to surround white. White comes out, and black wedges in between, and both sides end up split, right? And they say this is a Joseki of like 1,000 variations. Yeah, so it's supposed to be very complicated. Uh, I would say no, Margu. It's a good place to start if you just want to study something really complicated for fun, but I think studying simple Josekis is a better idea to start. Okay, so um, black keeps his inside group strong. White clearly has a gap between these stones, so he fixes. Black helps his 3 outside stones. Now, where does white typically play here? D10. That's right, yeah. Typically D10. But he doesn't. He plays this. And the pros thought that this showed really good judgment and timing. And they pointed out that the thing is the left side isn't really that interesting, right? Because black is solid there anyway. So it's not really interesting for either side. And it's not like the A group is going to die, right? So white does this instead. And I just realized that I got to stop doing this, but I realized that I missed a few diagrams. The normal thing to do here would be to just settle, right? So I might as well point this out. You know, settle that group and then invade at some invasion on the top later. No, the tree's fine. Um, and also B could be at C, right? Just a little more pressure. In the same way, this Taisha is fine, but in the same way, black could just decide to settle quickly here. And the reason for that is Sente is pretty valuable right now, and he could invade the lower right corner, right? And so that would be another way to play. That's a really good question, Moboy. I think a lot of it has to do with time, right? In general, nowadays, pros, they don't have a lot of time in tournament games. And so the goal is to generally avoid complicated Joseki and stuff, especially if you think that your opponent may have studied it, right? Like in depth and prepared some sort of thing, whereas you haven't studied it. So that's kind of why. Why not R5 instead of R3? Oh, because R5 is giving the corner away, um, right? So that just gives the corner away. The idea of R3 is to take the corner and also to make this A stone not so valuable. Yeah, that's true, but like what's your next move, right? You actually have like you can't play something fast here, right? For example, if you want to play, you might think about a fast move, but you know the idea of being able to play a fast move is when the corner is open, right? But in this case the corner is not open. So that means the B stone is really heavy. and white could just come in. So really, this is what your move is going to be, right? And the right side's not that interesting. So there are cases where you want to just give the corner away, like in a Chinese opening, right? But usually you don't want to just give the territory away if you can't get much with it. Also, the idea of this move, like I said, would be to make the A stone bad. For example, white's natural move is here, and we've seen this before, and there's other stuff that could be shown here, but let's just look real quick. Notice how, I mean, white can extend on the right-hand side now, but the A stone is kind of just not in a good spot at all, right? We would just like to completely take that stone off the board and put it somewhere else. For example, probably like here, right? I moved it to A. But anyway, he did the Taisha. So we get to here, and yeah, so he ignored. Normally you would play A, but he played here. And now black, you can't really say this is a mistake, but he's following. He has this one idea in this game that really gives him a bad Fuseki. It gives him a bad opening. Normally black would play here, right, further, or perhaps even here if he really wants to reduce. Just ask away whenever, and I'll try to get to it. So why is he playing tightly? The reason he's playing tightly is because he's thinking about attacking this marked group up top, and he thinks that if A is tighter, right? So his group is stronger, so it's going to be better for fighting. But that group doesn't look that easy to attack, right? I'm betting everyone here has done this, where you keep trying to attack something and it just doesn't work out because it was never that weak to begin with, and then you lose on points, right? Not me. L17 seems like a hindrance. L17 can actually be used to help later, but yeah, it's a weak stone. It's not a particularly strong stone. Okay, yeah, you can ask about history as well. I might not know though. I have read some of the history parts of the book, but not all of it. But I'm sure someone would know. We've got a lot of people here. So he plays closer, right? And that's sort of interesting. Let's take a look at white didn't play on the left, right? So how could black punish? The normal punishment is to attach here. White's got a Hane, and this is on the second line, so it's a little painful, and black can force. But essentially white is fine, right? And black has to take Gote with A, and white can play here, right? Black got some influence, but it's not that interesting, right? Especially when you have L15 stone there is actually pretty well placed to negate a lot of the center influence. So this doesn't seem too interesting, right? The pros pointed out that if black is going to do anything at all, he could play here. In this case, white is not going to be able to allow black to play here, right? That's too severe. So white would probably have to answer, and then black could play. That's about the most black could get away with here. All right, so anyways, black plays this seemingly slow-looking move. Let's see what's Commune saying. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's actually Taisha comes up. I almost want to say like 50% of the games or more that we look at. He definitely knew the Taisha when he was playing Genon Inseki and was, you know, for the ear reddening game, but he hadn't seen that variation, and that's why he got tricked up by it, because that variation in the ear reddening game where Shusaku makes the mistake and then it turns into a big ko. That variation was actually invented and developed by the very player he was playing. So that was like the first time he had seen it. All right, so back to the game. So black plays here, and so that gives white a chance to come back. So to me, this seems pretty good for white to be able to get A in exchange for B and still be able to get this. Now black's got to help his group. He makes a nice horse head shape here. White plays here. This is actually, this is still Joseki. Everything you see in the lower left is a Joseki. And this is actually a vital point because if white doesn't play there, black can hit K4 and just depress this whole thing, right? And it's none of the stones are working particularly well anymore. So this is important to keep, future possibilities against the black group and also to raise the bottom. It looks like a calm, slow move, right? But it's a nice vital point. And black keeps getting himself into trouble here. He keeps going with this idea of attack. And so he plays here. And this is the correct move locally to use the L17 stone to try and attack. But right now, the most important point on the board is to get this extension in, right? So that white can't play at B. So black should probably play here. Another interesting possibility that the pros showed is that this jump is a very nice point. And they said fighting spirit dictates that white should play here now, right? Because black didn't do the thing on top. White's going to do that. Black will play here. White will jump out, which puts some pressure on this group. But that group's not that weak, right? So black will probably take a position up like this. A valuable move on the right side. Also on the fourth line to lend help to the potential weak group. So that's one diagram they showed. So white plays here, which is a really nice move to take Sente. Let's see what black's idea is here. He's thinking that he can Hane and then play here, right? And the A stone is weak, but you can't capture it, right? So the idea is that white has two weak groups, and that would be severe. But the problem is white plays here, and black is strongly encouraged to respond, which he does. And then white just goes ahead and takes Sente again. So you guys can probably start to see how white is really, he's having a better opening than black, right? Because black keeps going for these vague sort of attacking moves, while white is just taking big moves. And this group is really not that weak. Yeah, he's getting all the big points. And the reason black needs to respond here is if he doesn't, and white pushes here, white's group is basically settled, right? You can't do this sort of thing because this is just going to be a big nasty disaster. But after this stone is captured, that means this white group is strong now. And that changes the board, right? Now that that's strong, that means white could invade, right, and attack two stones. So that means black essentially would owe a move over there. So that's why black has to stay strong here, but then white just gets a big nice move. This is a great shape, right? He's got a Shimari and he's got a double wing off of that Shimari. And black's been saying all along, I'm going to attack your group. So he stays consistent and he Hanes here. He's still trying to attack. And white says, okay, go for it. And jumps here. This move to me, I would be so sad as black. I mean, this is uncharacteristic of Shusaku, right? It just seems like he's kind of, I don't know, his opening here is really falling flat. Not only is this A stone, really great for growing the whole moyo. That group is weak now, right? The black group. So he's got to come out by touching a strong stone, make some shape for himself. And here's interesting. Normally you would think about just uh, connecting at A, right? White needs to connect somehow. The pros said that would have no effect on black. So white plays something, he wants to have more of an effect on black. So he attaches here to a strong stone and extends. And the shape's a little looser, but it's something white can manage. And now he's also got follow-up moves in the corner, right? If black doesn't respond, which he doesn't. Black is so concerned with the lower right that he has to get in there, right? So he plays Tanuki to come in here. If he doesn't do something about the lower right, it's just game's going to be over real soon, right? In the opening. Normally, you don't want to Hane when you're stronger, right? So Mr. Yang calls this, single stone against single stone. If you're stronger, just extend to leave less forcing moves. So normally black would play like this. But the problem in this case is white will just make some exchange. And then probably Tanuki. Like he can lean here, make one exchange, and then play something like this, right? And just make a big giant box. And you're going to have a really hard time invading there now, right? So that's why he just Hanes for Sente and then comes in. And so this is interesting. So here we've got like the A stone, and then we've got the square stone and the circle stone, right? So if we want to attack the circle stone, what can we do here? P9. There you go. See that you guys got, okay, that's the A. Okay. So Mushin, B, P9 would be touching the stone you want to attack. And you don't want to do that, right? Because when you touch a stone, you make it stronger. So if you want to attack the P8 stone, then that means you should attach to this guy and get some help over here, because this is your real target, right? This is like make a sound in the east when you're going to attack the west, sort of thing. So this would just be helping the stone that you're trying to attack. So yeah, this is good. And what was the other one? P10. P10 does split, but it since it's not an attachment, it doesn't put as much pressure on black, right? And sometimes that's okay, but in this case, white really wants to put a lot of pressure on black, and also this is a bit thin. Q10. Q10. Yeah, this is possible too. In a sense, it's a contact because it's a shoulder hit, but it's not a severe contact. So black can just play here, right? It's not a big deal. And actually, this turns out like the game anyway, so maybe that would be possible. Let's see. So white attaches here. Black just extends because he doesn't want to give white a whole lot of forcing moves. And then white comes back. And black plays here. So that's actually the same thing as what we just saw. That's kind of interesting. What is this black move aiming at? Right, K7. And that would be too easy for black, right? So we've got to stop that. What's the best way of doing that, you think? And this comes back to pressure. We want to break that in a way that puts pressure. Perfect, yeah. So not only are we breaking that, you know, like a move like this, we're also putting pressure on this single stone. So now black is left with the question, you know, do I have time to extend to A? I don't know. My two stones are weak. And he actually doesn't have time, so he just helps his two stones. So that means later on we're going to be able to do something around A, right? Um, if black does this, he's not confident about these two stones. So he plays here. White comes out. This is to help the three stones and also keep surrounding. That was loud. What was loud? I'm sorry. Q9. Q9. Black plays here. He's looking to link up, right? That's weird. It must have been, I don't know, some sort of net thing because I didn't, no volume changed on my side. That's weird. All right, so he's going to try and link up. White gets one more forcing move. Really? That's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I definitely didn't shout. I'm going to have to listen to the video later and see what it sounded like. You might expect white to separate at this point, but actually he doesn't. He just plays here, which is a vital point for taking the bottom, right? Getting a nice area on the bottom. And black actually gets to link up here underneath. But white's not so concerned about that because he already got the bottom. And remember, now he has another group to attack still. First he makes this exchange just to make sure black is going to respond here. And then he says, okay, he's going to attack this center group, but first he's going to get some forcing moves in. This was unfinished business, right? Black never answered here. So we can get this for free, which is a very nice move to get. Now another question. Do you think it's reasonable that white's going to want to come in to the A area at some point? Maybe this isn't actually that clear. Yeah, I would say probably questionable, right? Because the only way that's going to be able to happen is if this group on top gets stronger. Right. When M18 gets settled. So, but in this case, let's see what he does. He says, you know what? I want to attack the B group. So let's do one thing at a time. First, I'm going to make myself strong here. So he makes this exchange, which is not good if you want to invade on the top, right? But he's making his group strong, and then he's attacking. So in this case, now if you look around, this makes sense, a lot of sense actually. So Shusaku is being attacked. By the way, I forget exactly which move it was on, but the pros pointed out that black already lost his advantage of playing first. I think it was most likely here. Maybe even white's ahead by then, but black has at least lost his advantage from playing first. So what's the Sabaki move here? Any ideas? How to use, yeah, G8 is one idea. And yeah, H9. Sabaki, not Tsubaki. Um, yeah, so this is a way of using the A stone to come out, right? and it puts some liberty pressure on this white stone, because white only has 2 liberties. The pros said this is pretty much the only way. This is the best way for black. And white has to make a Ko shape, because if he comes through, it's pretty easy for black to just peep and jump. And this is no longer an easy target of a group, right? That's kind of a gamble. So he goes for the Ko shape, and he gets one more forcing move here, leaning move here. The idea being that an extra stone here is very likely to help, right? That's the idea of a leaning attack. We can get a free move. So we've made the exchange of A for B, which locally is not necessarily a good exchange. Yeah, that's a good question, Commune. I'm not completely sure. Probably not strong enough to answer that, but I think he's really just trying to make sure that he has this full net, right? Surrounding. Later on, maybe black won't answer, depending on the situation. So here black answers, and now white is ready to go. What if black doesn't answer G15? Let's figure that out. I actually didn't look at that, but it looks like the shape is pretty bad, right? So where is white's follow-up? Let's look at some obvious stuff. Oh, actually, let me go back a bit. Because I actually forgot. There was even a diagram here where they said, what if black doesn't answer? What if black just helps this group right now? And this is a little interesting because they didn't show anything super severe, but what they showed is they said white can play here. And it's not that white killed anything, but white pressed black down. And they would say that they said that black is just losing on points now. So part of what's going on here is that, remember, white's opening was really nice. So black can't necessarily just ignore, right, to save his group if that means that he's going to lose all his points. Black is, yeah, commune's onto it. Black is really, he's walking kind of a tightrope because he needs to keep the points, and at the same time his group can't die. Now, I'm not actually sure what the best follow-up would be, though. Maybe something here. But clearly we can see that black shape on top isn't ideal. So white's going to get some sort of compensation up there, which is just going to further his lead. So black stays strong with A. And now we get into this Ko. Wati. Um, and, okay, yeah, go ahead. And essentially we're going to be fighting Kos from now until the end of this entire game, believe it or not. Woohoo. Doesn't that make almost every move a Ko threat? Can't ignore. Interesting. A lot of them, yeah, and maybe that's why this Ko goes on for the entire game. Let's take a look at what happens here. It's pretty crazy. I had to put a lot of extra effort into this game in terms of memorizing it compared to usual, because there's just so many Ko threats and stuff that you gotta keep track of. Okay, so black takes the Ko. Here's white's first Ko threat. Yeah, I want to see if I can not break the tree on this. Black has to answer this, right? He can't allow white to play A. So that's first Ko threat. Black is just going to use some local Ko threats. White's next Ko threat was here to split. So Black's got to play here. This is his way of staying connected. Aims at that cut right there. Black's got another local code threat. And now white connects, right? And instinctively you would think, okay, black needs to play at A now. But already we can see this game is very different than the other castle games where Shusaku is just like, you know, taking it easy, right? And just riding out his win from the beginning of the game. He's being tested severely here, and we're going to see basically he has to do some stuff to try harder than usual. So he doesn't play A. He peeps here and asks white, are you going to do A? Are you going to do B? What are you going to do here? And white actually he can't decide, so he just captures the ko. Let's see why that is. The pros think that if black connects or if white connects, black can just connect now and they'll get back to the ko, right? But later on, black can actually live with like, okay, let's pretend that the ko's over and everything. Later on, black can do this sort of thing, right? And has a lot of aji for living. So that's kind of the problem with connecting on this side. Now if he connects on this side, black will probably connect this ko and save his group. And in order to separate black, white has to cut first, right? But now black can push and settle this way by cutting one stone off. So white wasn't really sure what to do there, so he just went back to the ko. And here is where we kind of see that Shusaku has to get very, very daring because this group is extremely weak, right? And we're in the middle of a ko. Actually, let's keep track. First, we ignored this, right? So this is the first time we ignored our group. We had to go do something else. So that's one. And now black says, you know what? I've got to go for this. So he pushes and he cuts and he takes this corner. This is very brave, right? Because now white actually finishes this ko. Yeah, it's very big also. But this group is super weak, right? So we can see he's really playing on the edge here because it's not an easy game for black. So now he's ignored twice on this group. In this case, he got a really big benefit while he ignored, so that's interesting. So now he's going to try and get away. This seems like a good move to do that. And white's style here is nice. He doesn't try to save the A stone because that would just be heavy. He uses it. And this whole thing is still surrounded, right? And, white can play A, and that would make it not even a real I. So we get to here. Black is trying to make shape. White stones are everywhere, though. White cuts. Black continues trying to make shape. And this is important. I think this is a concept here that I really need to work on because somehow this is lacking in my game. Where would you guys play? I guess let me just open it up and ask first. You would take the ko? Maybe f8. Interesting. So, but that's going to give black a lot of freedom on the outside, right? To run away, and you're just going to get like a little benefit at first. So white plays here, which is at a distance, right? And the pros pointed out that this is the best way for white to play. Just keep the net strong from a distance. Um, but there's like this tendency to play here, right? Which just helps black. And their point was that white doesn't have like any magical move to play right now. He just needs to make himself strong and let black continue to struggle inside. So that's what he does. I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's see, what's next? Only missed 100 moves. Yeah, that's too bad. Sorry, Nimbin. So black gets to extend. And let's see. White makes one exchange here, which black has to answer. And then he plays here. So black is still surrounded, right? This is a very difficult situation. And so there's essentially no running out at this point. We have to come back to ko. So this is the second time this has become a ko, right? So here we go again. White captures. Black plays a threat here. This doesn't threaten to live immediately, but white does need to respond or it gets pretty nasty. For example, if white finishes the ko, black can connect, and then he can look at A and B. And the way the commentators put it is that it's very likely that white would be in more trouble than black here, actually. So for now, white just plays here, which also makes this a false eye at A and keeps himself strong. Black captures the ko. Ko threat here, right, to push through and bust the top. So we have to answer that. One thing that's important to point out is that one of the good things about having a group as big as this is, I mean, it's bad in the sense that if it dies, you're basically done, right? But when a group is this big, you have all kinds of co-threats for running, right? So black does have a bunch of co-threats. And what was his next one? That's the question. Tries to come out. White says, nope, you can't come out. But there's going to be all kinds of threats like this, right, for running. He takes the ko again. White pushes here. There's all sorts of ko threats over here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a second. What just happened? Oh, okay. I'm crazy. I thought I broke the tree for a second. So black answers. White takes the ko. Are you sad that it's not broken? You are. That's mean. Cut. Threatening to pick up this one stone. So white responds. Keep black surrounded. Take the ko. White just keeps using his ko threats over here. Black threatens to separate here. So this ko just keeps going on. When white pushes here, black actually fights back a little bit by pushing up. White takes. Black threatens to come through. White says, no, I'm going to keep you weak. Keeping a perfect tree is really pointless. It keeps me, yeah, focused though. Threatening to capture 5 stones. So black has to connect under. And can anyone guess where Shusaku plays next. Yeah, he does it again. He says, you know what? I'm going to take more profit. So I mean, in one sense, you can say he's playing crazy here, right? But the way the pros put it was just that his analysis was very deep. But he's ignoring this whole thing again, this big giant group, to take profit. And so the question is, I mean, can he really save that group after white plays again? So he's ignored like 3 times now, right? And this group keeps getting into trouble. White cuts here. And the pro comment was that maybe Showa was a little overawed with Black's fighting spirit at this point. Ishida felt like connecting the ko would probably be stronger. And he actually said it's like impossible to know exactly what Shusaku is planning to do. But he thinks that at this point, you can't save this group. So he thinks that he would try to go for an exchange with Atari, push through, Atari, Atari. And so the idea would be he could pick this up in exchange for this group, which is not so bad when you've already ignored 3 times, right? And you still get to trade something. That's pretty good, right? Ishida felt that this would be an extremely close game. Yeah, maybe he was just bluffing. Somehow I doubt it with his analysis, though. Ishida actually thought this would maybe a Jigo. I don't know how in the world you can. I guess that's just feeling or like instinct, like how you can tell that from here. But he felt that it would be maybe a Jigo. But instead, White played here. So first, Shusaku makes this exchange to keep the ko going. White captures, and now he comes back and captures. So he's still trying to make this live, if you can believe it. All right. So White's got to play here, right? To capture that black stone. Black Ataris. And plays here. And guess what? We have another ko. How long did the game take? This one was more than 1 day. Let's see. Okay, it says the game was not completed at Edo Castle on the 17th, so it was continued the next day at the residence of Lord Wakizaka Awaji. So 2 days, I guess. Sleeping. That's true, huh? So we're in ko again, and black plays here. One thing you want to notice here is that white does have to keep track of his group on the right-hand side. So we're fighting this ko, and white gets the ko threat here. Black has to answer this, otherwise there was no point of him cutting at 06 to begin with. Then we get this. Black Ataris here. Can't K10 connect? I'm not sure. Can it? Are you gonna bamboo now? I don't. It doesn't seem like an obvious connection to me, but again, you could get some trading going on here. Maybe that's interesting. Yeah, if you just try to connect. Uh, so when black Atari's here, you have to realize that this group is getting separated. Um, so what white does is he extends here, which is kind of key for what we just saw, right? Cutting this direction and that direction. And it may look weird to allow black to capture at B, but actually, as we'll see, if black captures at B, white can just resurround with C anyway. We'll see that in a bit. So for now, he does that. Takes the ko again. Okay, where is... Oh, actually, at this point, white connects because I guess he's running out of ko threats, or he thinks he is. So this is like the third time that black essentially won this ko, right? Won, in quotes, because white just backed off again. Um, and so black goes about making some additional shape, and they pointed out that the AB exchange is really painful for black, right? But I think the way they put it is that black's in no position to quibble when he's been ignoring this whole time, right? So he's just making some shape. And guess what we get? Ko. So we're back into ko. And black uses this as a ko threat. He captures, but white just surrounds again, right? So black is still surrounded. We're playing this ko. And one of the things about this AB exchange is that now white has moves like this, right? So that's a ko threat. White captures. Black keeps using these pushes as ko threats. White has additional ko threats down here. Black has to answer. Black cuts. White has to answer that. White has all sorts of ko threats in the bottom left here, actually. Black cuts. White says Atari. Yep, more ko threats. Still has S4. Yeah, that's Atari, huh? Yeah, he actually never uses that one. That's interesting. Let's see. So he takes. Black pushes. Obviously, white's got to answer that one. We get another placement here. Black has to answer. Kind of funny looking shape, but it's alive. White captures. Where's the next one? This one's a kind of a funky looking threat. Black plays here, and white fixes by just capturing this for now. Gets rid of some of the aji. White makes another ko threat to do snapback. Black answers. White captures. Black pokes. White's got to answer that one. Okay, so we're playing this ko, and finally white compromises again. He's like, you know what? It seems like black has more ko threats than me. I'm just going to fix up here for now, and maybe I'll be able to resume attacking later. But black keeps up his fighting spirit. He doesn't even finish the ko now. He plays over here, which the pro commentators thought that this was a very, what's the move? Like it's a very clever move because it adds a ko threat at A. So actually, let me click white's move first. Also, these guys are getting weak. So white comes to defend here, and black jumps here. And this is the point where they said when black jumps here and is, attacking and taking this corner, this is the first time where it really seems possible that black might stage an upset in this game. But so the idea of this move is that, for example, let's say white captures. This is going to be a co-threat. And then later on in the game, after black has connected, this is like a real threat, right? So there's a bunch of more threats coming, or that would be available later against this group here. Yeah, maybe it is, in essence, it's a bit of a do or die sort of thing happening here. So he does that. One thing that's interesting here is that it's not immediately obvious, but these stones are actually in trouble now, right? So white actually has to do something here. Otherwise, let's see, how would black go about it? One thing is you could just bulge and cut, right? So that's nasty. Is there anything else? You also might be able to just do it like this, because I don't think that's two eyes yet. So white really has to defend here. Black makes one exchange. Then he plays this Atari. Again, looking at this group, white doesn't capture right away. He plays sort of like a probing move here. And now remember, we've got this whole thing over here, and black could just play a move to finish it, but he doesn't. He plays here, which the pros described as like a makeshift defense. Like it helps, but there's still a cut, right? And they said black is probably willing to play ko all day, if that's what white wants to do. So pretty brave, right? White tries for some Aji in here. Black makes some exchanges here. And peeps and connects. So these three stones actually can't live. So it seems like black is starting to do well, right? Of course, this A group is still not alive yet. And we'll have to see how white is going to use these three stones later. For now, white says, okay, the attack is back on. I'm cutting you. This is it. And again, this is a ko, right? So I've lost track of how many times black has ignored this group and taken profit. But here we are in ko again. And let's see, what was white's ko threat here? Oh, right, his capture threatens to cut off the tail. So that's ko threat. Black actually has a nice ko threat here. This is the type of ko threat that is really positive and feels good to play, because it's a move you want to play anyway, right? And it's also threatening at cutting. As white connects. White pushes in. Again, black can't allow the corner to go away because the points are so close. So he's got a block. White answers. So black's threats all essentially have to be local threats, right? Because if they're not, white can ignore them and kill the group. But for white, he can play threats all over the board. Can live by connecting at f8. Oh no, I broke the tree. Why? Oh, that's so sad. So sad. This one comes first. Ah, that's annoying. Okay, let me see what your question was. What a jerk. Okay. Was that one loud, by the way? Maybe that was loud. Isn't this still... I'm confused. Still ko, isn't it? Oh, wait. Yeah, what's going on here? F8. Is that what you said? F8? F8. It would appear those are miai, doesn't it? Because if we do that, that's two eyes. And if we do this, that's two eyes, and this doesn't matter. So, huh. So I guess this is just one of those ko's where you're fighting over the few points, right? You're fighting over not being forced. Well, Black's trying to not be forced to live in a painful way because the game's so close. That's interesting. Thanks for pointing that out, though, because I was under the impression that this was more serious. Yeah, so I mean, in any case, the natural thing to do is keep fighting the ko, right? Because if you win the ko, um, you're going to live in a better way. But eventually, yeah, you might have to back off. And that actually, that's what happens soon. So let's see. Oh, wait, that's the broken branch. So here's threat. Yeah, make him use some of his ko threats up. Man, I'm not on the main branch anymore. Oh, look at this. It's just like Commune said. What am I doing? I'm just like playing moves now. See, now I'm going to break it all over the place. Okay, so that was a ko threat. Ko threat. White comes back to try and use these stones. Black can't allow that. Okay, now at this point, Black says, you know what, you're right. I have to live. And so he doesn't do it with, I guess I shouldn't have been so surprised since I already knew Black could live anyway. But he doesn't do it with A, he does it like this. He just says, okay, I. So he lives like that. Pretty similar, right? Okay. And White gets to come here, right? So his profit is he got to cut these stones off. Yeah, there's still another ko. And Black cuts here. This is kind of a cool move. He wants to see if White is going to do A or if he's going to do B. He has to do A, which gives Black this move. And he reduces the bottom like that. Where do we go if White plays like this? This is stronger towards the bottom, right? But it's weaker somewhere else. Yeah, N7. Atari, 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 and probably like that, right? So White doesn't have a big choice in this. So he does that, and Black gets to do that. Now I think at this point they were saying Black's a little ahead. Right, so now White gets back to trying to use these stones. He peeps, and he cuts. Now these stones can't live, so what's White trying to do here? Yeah, he's trying to create a semidori, right? He wants Black to have to add extra moves inside his own territory later to capture these stones, thereby diminishing the amount of black territory here. Also, there's co-threats that he's going to be able to get out of that. All right, so he does that, and then he comes back and says, okay, let me close off the bottom here. Black pushes and says, okay, let's do this ko again. Now, this is just for points, right? This is not for life and death anymore, but we're playing ko again. That's kind of cute. And white's going to come back to his co-threats here. Cute. So now you notice black is able to do threats that are just for points because his group isn't in danger anymore. Dangerous. Connects, threatens to cut off 2 stones. Atari. Capture. Let's see what was next. Where are the co-threats, guys? A4, nope. That is one of them, though, for later. N7, not yet. E15, not yet. F1, Self Atari. J10, B8, B16. This is weird. For some reason, it's completely slipped my mind what the co-thread is. Oh, here we go. Just this little endgame down here. Oh, RIJ said it. My buddy, RIJ and RJM. All right. White has some threats here. Black says, I better keep a living shape here, so I don't have to get into some nasty semi-AI. Now comes this one. White connects. White pushes. Black says, I better keep my eye. For eye versus no eye. And Atari to try and save 4 stones. Capture. White does this, which is a little interesting. I didn't try to analyze the counting here, but Ishida pointed out that he said, okay, so black is going to have to play these 2 moves anyway. So he said that in a sense this loses points, but it allows white to win the ko in the end. So it all kind of balances out in the end. He actually says like the last 100 moves of the game don't change the score at all. So in any case, white plays here. Black answers just by capturing for now. White captures. Co-threat. Capture. Co-threat. Just got to keep those liberties down. Co-threat. Here's another co-threat. Still got to keep the liberties down. Atari on 2 stones. Still some liberty stuff going on here. Finally, black says, whatever. I'm just going to capture this. So white finishes this ko. Black pushes and solidifies this point, also takes away the point at A. Let's see. Where for white? Atari and Sente. And he fixes here. Black descends. White takes another point. Black Ataris. White captures, which is also taking a liberty, so black's got to respond again. There's another point. Atari. Connect. White connects up. Black connects this guy. And white connects. And that was the end of the Kifu. Clearly, it seems like there's still some stuff like between the dame that needs to be played. This was a 342 move long game, which is really long, right? And it's just because they're fighting the ko back and forth so long that it really extends the number of moves. But in the end, Shusaku won by, what was it, like 3 points? Let me check here. Yeah, he won by 3 points. And so this is like the first time that we've really seen him just fight like crazy, right? I mean, we saw a couple times in the much earlier videos where he wasn't as strong yet, where he got into some trouble. But it's been a while since we've seen him have to fight from behind. And yeah, so he was actually able to win this game. And now, out of the 19 castle games, this one and one other game were the closest to him screwing up his perfect record. Yeah, that's it. And so the next game in the book is, at least the next official game, is one with Sekiyama, um, that amateur player I was telling you guys about last time. But before then, there's a Showa versus Shuwa game, which they threw in for some reason. Let me see, what does it say here? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, actually, there's something interesting here that I want to read to you guys. So this is from the book Invincible. I'll probably just read it verbatim. This game is considered a classic, and it ranks as a masterpiece for both Showa as well as for Shusaku. It is the only castle game in which Shusaku was outplayed in the Fuseki when he held black. Segoe Kensaku relates that when he was a member of the Hoensha in his youth, he once discussed Shusaku with Iwasaki Kenzo, who appears later in this book as Ebizawa Kenzo, and that the latter commented that if you examine Shusaku's games carefully, you find that one of them was really a lost game for him. Segoe agrees that Shusaku was certainly in considerable danger of losing. This compelled him to display his full strength in contrast to his usual easy wins with black, and thus created a classic. Ishida Yoshio sums up the game as follows. In many of Shusaku's games, this one being the best example, one finds that he uses ko's to get out of difficult positions. This is also true of go seigen. That is, skill at fighting ko's is an indication of go strength. Probably says something about how weak I am. I don't really like ko typically. The way that Shusaku persevered with ko after ko, fighting his way to final victory with a series of all or nothing moves, justifies one in calling this game one of his masterpieces. Moves like the cut at 39 in figure 4, I think that's here. Oh wait, that's not true. Oh wait, yeah, that is true. So moves like this cut Wait, is that true? Is that 39? Let me make sure. 39, figure 4. Oh, not that one. It's talking about this one. That makes more sense because this is 139. So moves like 139 can only be played if one has a lot of confidence in one's analysis. Showa lost what was a good game for him, but his exquisite play in the Fuseki and his superb attacking play in the middle game harassed Shusaku throughout the game. Showa was a formidable player. He earned the admiration of the Go world for his Jigo with white against Shuwa in 1841, lauded as a feat worthy of a Meijin. So just to reiterate that, that means, this player, Ito Showa, he took white against Shuwa and was able to draw a Jigo. That's like really, really impressive because Shuwa was like Shusaku level, right? So that's pretty impressive. Let's see. For the record buffs, this is the longest game by one move in Shusaku's complete games, but it falls far short of Showa's personal record. In 1839, he played a game with Yasui Sanchi, which went to 405 moves, traditionally regarded as the record. And then there's a little parenthetical note here that says it may have been broken in 1950 when a Yamabe Hoshino game might have gone to 411 moves. But since the game record was not made until a few days after the game, there are some doubts about its accuracy. Too many moves have been played. Are you going to review that game? Which game, RIJ? The show the 405 move game? Okay, so that is not in the book. But the Showa versus Shuwa game is in the book. The one where Showa took white and got a Jigo against Shuwa. And that's not a Shusaku game, but maybe we could go over it just for fun. I don't know if I'll actually schedule it officially, though. The next game I schedule will probably be the one with Sekiyama. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure it out. Let's see. Is there anything else interesting here? One thing I didn't point out during the game was that you know how it kind of went from black being behind to black being somewhat ahead. They said something interesting about that. Let me see if I can find the exact wording. Oh, here we go. Showa has not made a mistake in the fighting. It is just that Shusaku's analysis has been more profound. So that's pretty interesting. It wasn't as if they could point to anything White did wrong and say that's why Black came back. It was just a really hard fought game, and I guess Shusaku, squeezed out a few extra points in the end. Why didn't White kill the stones in the top right corner? When, Alexi? Not sure how. How to kill? And when? Let's try to find out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he couldn't, but let's try to figure out where so we can actually look at it. Yeah, this is the only move they pointed out. Ishida thought this would lead to a Jigo, so maybe that would be a little more severe, but it's hard to say. That's the only one they really commented on. Kill the stones in the top right. Whoops. So are you talking about like here? Well, first White has to defend. Get rid of some of these marks. How do you kill? Like now, for example? before that. Okay, let's go back. Maybe actually I'll just give you control, Alexi, and you can try to find the spot that you're talking about. So this Showa versus Shuwa game, there's no commentary on it, but it says that it's famous because both Honimbo Joa and Genan Inseki, you know, the ear-reddening dude, they commented on the game and they said that in Fuseki, order of moves, and execution, Shua's play in this game merits not 1 point of criticism. That Showa was yet able to make it a Jigo with white is the feat of a Meijin. So that's kind of cool. Which game in Invincible is this one? This is game 27 out of 80 of the official games, and it's castle game number 4. We're well on our way, huh? To completing all 80 eventually. Known forever as the ear-reddening dude, yeah. At least another year. Yeah, I'm actually starting to think about like what I'm gonna do next. Oh man, there's a dead spider in my Invincible book. Gross. I've been thinking about like what I'm gonna do once I'm done with these. And I haven't been thinking too hard about it, but one thing I was considering is, and I don't know if this would be really boring for everyone or if they would enjoy it, but I was thinking about going through like the Ishida Joseki dictionaries in a systematic way, you know, week by week in a similar way that we do these, and just try and do that. So let me know if what you guys think about that. Play games on key. Yeah, maybe I should do that. I figure once we're done reviewing all of these, we should all at least be capable of like 6 done, right? So yeah, maybe I'll take a week off to get 6 done after we're done. After we're done here. Okay, so here. I see, Alexi. So yeah, actually, let me. Sorry for grabbing control from you. Let me go back to the. So let's just. Okay, let's do it from here. Um, this is a little off topic, I guess, but maybe worth talking about. So there's a concept of a big eye and like a small eye, right? Um, and in the top right, black has a 4 eye, right? 4 eyes. um, his eye space has a size of 4, right? Um, and so big eye is 4 or above. So if you have 4 or more, that's a big eye. Small eye is 3 or smaller. And what it means to have a big eye is that the amount of liberties inside actually outnumber what it appears to be, right? So, for example, let's just do it like this. Like this type of, it's a 1, right? It only has 1 liberty. This only has 2 liberties inside. This has 3 liberties inside. But once you get to 4, there's actually, oh, actually this isn't going to work because that's just alive, huh? So how can I make, how can I make one that's better? So I'll just do it like this. So a 4i, actually I'll just make a cross one, I guess. How do we do this? Like this. So we'll just do 4 like this. So how many liberties are in here? There's actually 5. So there's actually 5 liberties in here. Let's see why. So white plays 1, 2, 3, but this is sente, so we don't count it. So that's actually 3. Sente. 4, 5. So let's do that again. Actually, personally, in my head, the way I do this, count it, is I do 1, 2, and then I say sente, 3, sente, 4, 5. The reason there's extra, I just use a formula, smarty pants. The reason there's extra is because white has to play these moves, and then when you capture, you're back to a 3i again, right? So you have 3 anyway. But let's even change this a little bit. So let's go to 5. So now like this one, Alexi, this isn't 5 liberties. This is actually 8 liberties. These big eyes really start cranking up in the amount of liberties. So for example, 1, 2, 3, sente, 4, 5, sente, 6, 7, 8, right? Yeah, that's a funny story Vincent's referring to. So that's that. It's useful to just memorize it. You know, 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3, 4 equals 5, 5 equals 8, 6 equals 12, and 7 is like almost always alive. But otherwise, it would be like 17, right? 17. Where's my notepad? And Funny Bunny is explaining the math of how you actually get that. So if you look at what he's writing. So anyway, let's go back and apply that to the actual game. So here, we can count black's liberties. We know that a 4i counts for 5 liberties. So we start with 5, but then we have to subtract 3 because there's already 3 stones in there. So that means that on the inside, black has 2 liberties, right? 5 minus 3. And then he's got the 1 liberty on the outside. So he's actually got 3 liberties, and that shared liberty is his, so white can't do anything. All right, I'll be there. Yeah, a little funny story which Vincent just alluded to, the fake one Don thing. Let's make sure my buddy isn't here because I'm about to throw him under the bus. I went to Go Congress like 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3 now, and I met a friend there who ended up taking a lesson with Mingju. It was this thing where you actually like wrote on the wall, right? Like you signed up to do this group lesson with Mingju and you paid like $30 or something like that. And it just so happened for this particular time slot, he was the only one that showed up. Like he was the only one that signed up. And my friend kept begging me and my other friend, like, come on, guys, sign up. I don't want to be alone with Mingju. He's so scary and stuff like this, right? And it was so funny because we waited by the sign up sheet and Mingju like came and collected him and he was the he was the only one there, and he's like walking away with Mingju, and he keeps looking back at me like with this like puppy dog face, like save me, please, as he's like going off by himself, right? But then later, so like 2 hours later, he comes back and he finds us, and he's like all excited and stuff, and he's like talking really fast and explaining everything that had happened. and he was talking about how they went over these types, right? About the big eyes and how many liberties are in each one. Oh, yeah, this guy's a one don, by the way. He was AGA one don at the time. Um, and Mingju asked him these things. He's like, "How many liberties in this? How many liberties in that?" And he didn't know. Like he didn't know. And Mingju said, "One don, you must be fake one don." I just thought that was so funny. Mingju told him he was a fake one don because he didn't know uh, those I number, the liberties I just told you about. So you guys all need to learn those if you want to be a real don player. All right, that's enough blabbing for now. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining. Real one don also counts. All right, see you later.